Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Shooters Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Matt, at Post323. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. You can follow us on the socials at Shooters Lounge 3. Or also, if you're watching it on video, if you click on the QR code, scan the QR code, it'll take you to all the links with the socials and also links to the podcast, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Today, we have a returning guest. We're going to be talking LA Clippers basketball today. So we've got the returning James from Clippers UK. Welcome back, James. Good to see you again, dude.
Cheers, Matt. Yeah, thanks for having me back on. I think we were saying off air how long it's been, or it's only been 2 years and has felt like a long time. I think last time I was speaking to you, I think we just got James Harden. So a lot has changed since then. And I'm happy to come back on and explain what on earth is going on over at Clipperland, because it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a season, and I'm excited to tell you all from a Clippers fan point of view, because I've been on this roller coaster and it's been a bit of a crazy journey, if I'm honest.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Everything I've seen happen to the Clippers this season, man, I'm just thinking, man, wonder what my guy James is thinking about this. What's James think about this? So it's good to get you on, dude, and to share your thoughts on what's going on, man. But 2 years, it's soon flown by, hasn't it, bro?
It has, and like I said, I mean that's James Harden's tenure on the Clippers right there, the 2 years. And to be honest, it feels like he'd been around for a while. So it's absolutely flown by, and obviously we can talk more about the trades the Clippers have made, but time does definitely fly. But not in the NBA. It feels like a long time. There's so many games, so many stories, and excited to talk about everything that's gone on over the past few months and even seasons as well, if you want to go back further.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, like you say, 2 years is probably not a long time, but in the NBA, there's so many player movements, and Luka got traded in that time, and the whole NBA landscape changed completely. And it's mad time, isn't it, man? You never rule anything out, man, in the NBA, do you, bro?
No, and I honestly, I hated that trade, obviously, because I dislike the Lakers, like all Clippers fans do, right? I don't.
Do you have to as a Clippers fan? You have to hate the Lakers.
You have
right?
to, yeah. Of course, you have to. There's no doubt about that. But the only thing that made me happy about that trade is that somehow it's overshadowed our bad trade, which was obviously giving up SJ to the Thunder and all those picks for Paul George just to let him walk in free agency. So thank you, Dallas Mavericks, for being even stupider than the Clippers were back in 2019. I don't actually believe that. I don't actually believe that was a terrible trade. Like, obviously it's still got us Kawhi and many great years as a Clippers fan. Obviously we haven't got the title that the Thunder have, so obviously no way did we win that trade. But that Luka trade was something else, something I've never even seen in any kind of sports ever. So
yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody was up in arms with the SGA thing at the time. It's easy in hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? So it's like, you can say that now, this was terrible, but
everyone knew. Yeah.
It's not as if anybody knew that SGA was going to be SGA as he is now at the time, bro, did they?
No. He had a decent rookie season with us, and that was a good season for Clippers because we were a bit of an underdog. Like we had that playoff series with the Warriors where we took them to a few games. We got a couple wins off them, and we didn't really have any star players. We just had like a hungry team with Lou Will, who had big games in that playoff series, and I think SGA learned a lot off of that. And I think at the time you're giving up SGA and future draft capital for Paul George, who's coming off an MVP season. He was in MVP voting with the Thunder, and Kawhi, who just won the championship. He's basically dragged Toronto Raptors to their first ever title and became a god in Canada, right? So at that time, I think we'd still pull the trigger, but obviously knowing what you know now with all the injuries and everything else that's sort of gone against us, it's hard to take, and especially because of who SGA has become. Arguably, I would say the best player in the league. So, it hurts. It definitely hurts. I'm still rooting for one day he'll return, but we'll see.
You make me never say never, bro. Never say never. Yeah,
Never,
like say, I mean, the difference between getting Kawhi and not getting Kawhi was throwing in a guy who's just had his rookie season. I mean, if he's not like a
yeah,
number one pick, you're going to do that, aren't
he
you? So, do
wasn't
you
he
know what I
wasn't even
mean?
a top 10 pick. So,
Yeah, exactly,
there
mate.
wasn't,
Yeah, so
yeah, there
it's
wasn't really that
you're gonna
expectation on
do
him.
that, aren't you? But like say in hindsight now, it's like, oh, you had him, and then you let him
He's
go.
won a
But it's
title. Yeah,
easy to say, mate, isn't it? Now, like you say, so
yeah.
but just unfortunately, mate, just another thing that you Clippers fans kind of have to navigate, mate, isn't it? It's a labour of love being a Clippers fan, bro. Is it pretty safe to say, James?
Yeah, I think that's what drew me to the team when I first started following them in 2013 is that they hadn't won. And obviously 10 years on, I say 10 years on, 13 years on now.
Yeah.
We still haven't won, but I do think it's like part of the journey. And obviously, I'm not from LA. I'm not from America, so I've got no ties to to follow a team. So I just wanted to follow a journey, and it's been a journey. I tell you that. Obviously, we've still not reached the heights, but it
Yeah.
keeps it interesting. Like if they'd won a title in the first year of me supporting them, I'd be like, well, this is this supporting NBA teams pretty easy, isn't it? Like,
Yeah. Wow. Oh, this is
yeah.
boring. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I've loved every season because there's just been up and downs, probably a lot more downs than ups, but like because of the ambition from the franchise, from the front office, from Steve Ballmer, obviously building the new arena, that's just been fun to see because it
Which
like I've just
incredible
seen the
arena, bro,
franchise
isn't it?
evolve. Yeah,
Oh, it's an
honestly,
incredible
absolutely
arena.
amazing. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
not yet been. I've been trying to get over there for some time. I
Have you?
went to the final season of Crypto, so got to go over there for a little bit, which was
Yeah.
great. I did that in 2024.
Mm.
Yeah, that was brilliant. And now, I've got to get back over to see this new arena because,
Yeah.
I'm just in awe of it. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of built, fully for basketball, which you don't really
Mm.
see nowadays with new stadiums or arenas. They're all multi-purpose and
Mm.
maybe lose some of that edge when it comes to being like a sporting venue for your particular sport. But
Mm.
obviously Steve and the Clippers built it with basketball in mind and trying to be the best basketball arena in the world, and I think it's easily eclipsed that. And that's been great to see because obviously we've been known as being the sort of the basement neighbors to the Lakers, right? But now we've sort of carved our own community out in LA, which is brilliant. So really,
Yeah.
really happy about it.
No, absolutely. I'm sure the Lakers fans just remind you that the arena's built on their old arena, right? They
Yes.
like to put that
Yeah.
in there just a little bit, like
Well, it's crazy story because obviously Steve had to buy the Forum in order to build it because I think it was James Dolan who owns the Knicks. He
that's right. Yeah,
was vetoing it. He was like, "Well, you can't build it because my arena's down the road, right?" So he was like, "Well," Steve Ballmer just sort of flexed his muscles, didn't he, and said, "Well, screw you. I'll buy your arena and then I'll build my one down the road." So
Steve's got FU money though, hasn't he? Steve, he could just go, well,
honestly, like that is it's just shows you the levels, right? When you can pull something like that off, but also just the dedication to carving out this sort of niche for the franchise, which they haven't had. Sort of been probably the only team in the NBA that haven't had their own dedicated arena, dedicated space. Always having to cover up Laker banners and just never making it a home. And I think it's been a great journey for the franchise to then actually like carve out like a really brilliant arena that fans can call their own. And they've always had good attendances because they've been the team of the community rather than a team for the stars. Like if you've ever been to LA, you'll know the difference in prices is like it's astronomical. So it's been great. It's been a great few years supporting the Clippers, but obviously this one has been a bit more of a roller coaster of emotions, if I'm honest.
Hopefully we can see you in the wall one day, James. Get you sent in
absolutely
in that home end, mate. So that's where it's going to be at, right? Yeah.
Get me in there. I mean, I thought that was one of the best parts about the All-Star game is like I think Kawhi was going off in one of the games and you had basically everyone in the wall were all Clipper fans. They had to, I think, go to a certain number of games or there was some sort of requirement, but basically everyone in that wall was all Clippers season ticket holders. So
Mm.
yeah, they're all super dedicated and they do
Yeah.
all kinds of crazy stuff, where it be like, wearing costumes and showing up
Yeah.
banners and chanting God knows what. Like,
Brilliant.
that's a place I've got to go and watch one of the games at
Mm.
some point, and
Yeah.
hoping and at some point in the near future we'll be there. You'll see me in the wall next season, I hope.
I'll get the podcast out there, mate. Get to
Oh yeah,
if
we
you
will.
can, mate.
We
Absolutely,
will.
yeah. That'd be great, man. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
that'd be good. But yeah, trying to bring that college atmosphere to
Yeah.
the arena, aren't they? I think with the wall and stuff, and only Clippers fans can go in there as well and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's just really good to get a real kind of home atmosphere there, and like somebody's really thought about the experience and
Yes.
everything, and there's no TVs outside. You've got to go in. You've got to watch it, so they don't want butts
Yep.
not on seats and things, and just so much kind of thought gone into the building of it. I mean, you could do a whole podcast just on that, mate, because I think
Honestly, there's so
did a
much to it.
fantastic job in building it, man. Yeah, unbelievable job.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear Steve Ballmer shouting in my ear right now about how many toilets there are. The most toilets in
Yeah,
for any team, any arena, because he doesn't
yeah,
want. I mean, I get it, because I don't like, if you've been to any NBA games or any sporting games for that matter, like in timeouts or half times before games,
it's
the rush to go to the
God.
toilet,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
queues. You want people to be in their seats, be active, be engaged, and
Hmm.
obviously having the most toilets allows for that quick, yeah,
Yeah.
go to the toilet, get back, and
Get
then
back.
when you're in your seat, even in like the timeouts, there's obviously so many timeouts in the NBA, so many stoppages, keeping fans engaged with like crazy games on the big Halo board where they can like interact from their seats and win prizes
Yeah.
and stuff. Like, it's
Yeah.
honestly, it's another
Like,
level, and I can't
yeah.
wait to experience it, to be honest.
Like everybody has a phone charger and
Yeah,
just
just thought of
unbelievable, isn't it?
everything has been
Yeah,
accounted for by
yeah.
Steve.
To have that much money where you can go, right, what do I want as a complete NBA experience, and to be able to do that
Yeah.
and to deliver it to the, like you say, the community of Los Angeles is, that's a good thing, isn't it? And it's something that will stand, long after all of us have gone, and you know what I mean. So yeah, it's a real kind of, could be a real landmark, for Clippers,
Definitely.
for the franchise, couldn't it, man, for years and years to come. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a good job on that, man, for sure. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so yeah, we better talk about this season, James, because it's been a roller coaster. Like I think I say that last time you were on. It's a roller coaster being a Clippers fan. So, I don't know what your first, what were your kind of expectations going into the season? Because obviously, what with the roster and things, did you have much expectation going into the season?
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to think back now. I think we were pretty high on this group, but obviously there was a lot of turnover from last season, right? So
Yeah,
I mean, we finished last season pretty well. So we got through to the playoffs. It was a real dogfight to actually get like a good seed, and we ended up like doing pretty well in like the final 10 games. And then we faced was it the Nuggets in the first round, and I went to game 7.
What a slugfest that was, man! Oh my days!
But I thought we played
as a
some
neutral,
great
mate. As a
basketball in that
neutral for
time.
me,
Yeah.
it was brilliant. Obviously for you, I mean, unfortunately not the result for you, mate. But from a neutral, it was just a real slugfest. Real
It was.
like, yeah.
It was disappointing as well, because there was a few of those games where it felt like we could have got one, and that's all we needed in the end, was just to get one more than the Nuggets. With it going to game 7, and then obviously the Nuggets ended up pushing the Thunder pretty far as well, even though the Thunder had like a fair break, because obviously we were just waiting for us to decide who wanted to go through, right? So I think coming out of that season, we felt pretty good. Obviously we had James Harden. Kawhi was back and playing pretty well. And the group just looked good. Like last season, our defense was one of the best in the league. We brought in Jeff Van Gundy, who completely sort of changed the identity of the Clippers. With guys like Chris Dunn, Jarrett Jones Jr., Zoo, who had, I think, a career season last year. So coming into this season, we thought, okay, now is the time to like really kick on. I think, if we play anywhere similar to how we did last year, we're going to have a chance. And obviously there was sort of a fair bit of turnover in the team. They built out the depth quite significantly. Obviously they signed Brook Lopez, which was a bit of a surprise. They traded for John Collins. They got rid of Norman Powell, which was, I think, a big move at the time that I think a lot of people subscribed to at the time. But now, sort of in hindsight, maybe it was worth paying a Norman Powell, because I think in sort of the early part of this season, we definitely missed someone like that. And obviously they brought Bradley Beal in to sort of replace him. I think there was definitely concerns that the group was a bit on the older side. I mean, there was a lot of memes, a lot of jokes going around how it was, people calling it the unction, all the unks on the team. We've brought in Chris Paul, which I know we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And there were definitely concerns like, is this team too old? Because when you look at who's successful in the league today, obviously the Thunder are by and large the best team. And why are they the best team? Because they are filled with young stars, right? Who can play. They're athletic. They've had their injury issues, but they're not going to have their injury issues like a older team are. So there was definitely those concerns, and those concerns became more real as the season obviously got started. But I definitely remember being quite high on this group, and I regret some of the things I said around how we could definitely finish in the playoffs with this group, because the team that we have today is completely different to the team that started the season.
I think I'm not going to lie, James, when I saw the roster at the start of the season, I was like, man, this team's old, dude. It's it's really old. A lot of experience obviously comes with that, but I was like, man, there's going to be some nights where these guys are going to get run out of the gym, and that was my kind of worry. And then you'll get the Kawhi, I'm not playing for a few weeks and things. That was my worry for you guys, mate. To be honest, I was like, man, this team looks, the roster looks old, and I thought, who are your young guys? Because if you have a few young guys around, you can kind of lift up them older guys, can't you? They kind of go, might go with them, kind of thing, a little bit. That was me worry. And then, like you say, the start, what was it, 6-21 at one point?
6-21.
Right? Yeah. What were your thoughts then after that many games, man? It was like, this is not good really at all.
Yeah, it got really bad. It got really bad because obviously there were like decently high expectations, and I don't even think that was just from like a Clipper fan point of view. Like, I think if you look back last season, I don't think anybody had the expectations of the Clippers having the season they had, going to the first round of playoffs and looking as good as they did. I think there was actually a lot of people who were quite down on the Clippers because they lost Paul George, didn't really replace him with anyone, and they sort of brought in this defensive identity and then shocked everyone. So I think the NBA media this year were like, well, we're not writing the Clippers off again, and they got Brook Lopez and they got Chris Paul and they got John Collins, so they must do better this year. So I don't think it was even just a Clipper fan sentiment. It was like, I feel like the national media were also very high on the Clippers this year. So I think it was a big shock to everyone that we went 6-21, and there was a lot of conversations that I've had in particular around like where the direction of the franchise is going, because you sit 6-21, you don't control your draft picks for the next few years. The Thunder are the best team in the league. They have our first round pick this year, so there was a lot of talk around that. Us being a lottery team, we have no incentive to tank, as I said, so we can't be losing games, and we were losing. It felt like every game we were losing. It was really bad, really bad. So we brought in Bradley Beal. I thought he got off to a really, really slow start. I mean, you can tell me a bit about Bradley Beal because obviously he was with the Suns with you guys before, and there was definitely like a feeling that maybe we could rejuvenate him a little. Like, I think last season was one of his worst. Particularly with the Suns, like he was very inconsistent, and he was very slow to start and didn't really have any standout performances, and then ultimately got taken out for the season with a fractured hip, which was big because I think the way the Clippers sort of worked the roster for this year was they saw that Norman Powell wanted to get paid. They weren't willing to do it because they want flexibility moving forward with the roster, which was understandable, and they thought, we can get Bradley Beal for free on a buyout and replace him sort of almost like for like, and that didn't live up to expectations at all. I mean, Norman Powell been brilliant for the Clippers. Not
Yeah.
so great in the postseason, but as a regular season player, I mean,
Mm.
I thought he was a shoo-in for All-Star last year. Obviously, he was an All-Star this year, and that just sort of shows you the levels that he's sort of built up to. And I think losing him, replacing with Bradley Beal, who was poor and then got injured, just really contributed to everything. And obviously, we've had to navigate that. But yeah, it was a rough start, and it was really bleak. And I think there was a lot of negative energy towards the front office as well. A lot of questions asked. I think Lawrence Frank, who's our sort of director of basketball operations, he ended up having to sit down with like the season ticket holders to explain what was going on, because it just got so bad. And sitting at 6-21, we thought, where are we going from here? We just didn't see where the wins are coming from. I mean, that is like, that's a record that one of the worst teams in the NBA will have, and we were not even trying. Like, we were trying to win. We didn't have the incentive that maybe Indiana Pacers or a few other like tanking teams would have to lose games to improve their chances in the draft, right? Like, we don't have a pick, and our pick will go to the best team in the league, and we will look like the villains, and that everyone would be like, okay, why are you arming the best team in the league with another potentially first round, like first pick in the draft? So
the rich get richer.
Yeah, it was scary time, really scary time.
Yeah, was it all aimed at Lawrence Frank, or was Ty Lue getting some of the criticism as well? Because I know Ty Lue's a well-respected coach in the league. I think he's one of the definite top 3, I think, coaches in the league. If you ask a kind of survey on, was Ty Lue getting any flack there, dude?
Yeah, I think everyone was getting it because it was so unexpected, right? Like, even everyone up to Steve, and Steve's obviously been brilliant for the Clippers, and yeah, there was definitely like a real switch because, like I said, we had high expectations. You start the season 6-21, everyone is getting analysed, including Ty Lue. I think, to be fair to Ty, he was just doing what he could with the cards he'd been dealt, and unfortunately, with obviously the Bradley Beal injury and just the poor roster construction to start the season, just meant that he was really fighting for his career as well, because they could have, that if he lost a few more games, who knows if he's still the coach of the Clippers. And there was definitely cause for him to be fired. And fortunately enough, obviously managed to turn it around. I do remember early on thinking, okay, now is the time where you sit guys like Chris Paul, just don't play them, and start playing some of the younger players, because we've drafted, we've had a first round pick last season, a few other guys who just think anybody would be better than this group. We just needed to get a little bit younger, a little bit more athletic, which fortunately enough, and we can talk about this, is exactly what they did, and I think was a real contributor to how they turned the season around, and that sort of that real injection of energy from a few of the younger players, who even a couple of the rookies this year has sort of turned our season around, and just sort of brought that culture back to the team, which just clearly wasn't there at the start. So yeah, in short, Ty Lue was definitely, his job was on the line at one point for sure, just because you from a Steve Ballmer point of view, obviously you built this new arena, you want to fill it, you want to make sure people are coming, and no one's going to be coming to a team that's 6-21. Like, that's pretty abysmal viewing, unless you're sort of one of the road team fans. So
yeah. No, that's it, true, isn't it, mate? Yeah, I mean, you're always plugging for your guy Jordan Miller, aren't you, dude?
I am. Yes.
Your love of Jordan Miller knows no bounds, right?
Yeah. I think I probably spoke about Jordan Miller last time I was on, and I think it just goes to show like how long he's waited for an opportunity. He's been one of our star G League players for a long time, but everyone knows the G League and NBA is like night and day in terms of levels. So yeah, I think, when we must have recorded last time, he was sort of saying how his goal was to get an NBA contract, and it's only this season that he's managed to earn that. And I think he's been one of those guys that sort of spurred us on, just being available when needed, and just being a different kind of player like we didn't have. And I always thought that like he offered something completely different, a guy who can sort of do it all, defend, play, make, score, all 3 levels. So I've really enjoyed him this season. He's been one of the so he's not particularly a younger player, but in comparison to the rest of the team, like he is a young player. Obviously, he's got quite a junior NBA career. So yeah, I've really enjoyed Jordan Miller this season. It's definitely been his like breakthrough one, albeit probably 2 years a bit late, but yeah, he's been one of the guys for me.
Paid his dues, James, hasn't he? Paid his dues.
He has. Yeah, he's had to work for it. You know, there's some guys who just get handed it, but he's had to work it. The Clippers haven't been great at giving young guys opportunities or contracts, really. It's only really been like, just in like recent times, probably Terrence Mann, maybe Amir Coffey. There's like NBA players who we've sort of brought through sort of our draft process, and there's not really anyone else outside of that. We sort of have to go back to SGA, which obviously he wasn't on the team for very long. So this season, having sort of that younger identity has sort of brought a lot more excitement to watching the Clippers, and thankfully enough has also contributed to wins. So
yeah, and obviously, you know, you've made some moves at the deadline, James. You know, obviously the big one was James Harden being traded away. I think he wanted to be traded, or it was time for something new, or had he got another court case somewhere or something? I don't know. But him for Garland, were you surprised at that? That seemed to all happen quite quickly. I don't know if you were.
Yeah,
it was quite a surprise when I heard. I'm like, Harden wants. Oh, and then he's gone. It's like that was it. So, what your thoughts with that?
I think from the start of the season, we always felt, obviously Paul George leaving, the Clippers have always been looking toward like the next few seasons. So 2027, 28, looking at the off seasons, trying to rebuild this team without actually going through like a quote unquote rebuild in terms of tanking. Like Steve Ballmer has come out and said he will not tank as long as he's the owner of the team. So we always knew, you know, with the age that James was, even the age that Kawhi is, that these guys aren't going to be around forever. So I think we always felt like it was possible, but I was definitely shocked at the time when it happened. I didn't expect it to come. I thought James would have seen out the season at least with the Clippers, and then we would see where we'd go in this off season. And yeah, you're right in saying it did come around very, very quickly. I think it was more crazy because obviously we did start the season 6-21, but have eventually sort of clawed that back to 500 only recently, where we've just got over 500, I think, for the first time since November. So yeah, he was a massive part of that. I think he'd been playing some great basketball with the Clippers this season, and I think there was always something inside me that felt that given the 6-21 start, James would have eyes on moving elsewhere, because I think it's different to Kawhi, where Kawhi obviously has his championships, he's had his moments. Not to say that Kawhi doesn't want to win. I think he's very determined to win another. Otherwise, why would you play? Why would you continue to play other than the money? Maybe, I don't know. But for James, he hasn't had that.
Yeah. The money. Nice, yeah. Sorry,
yeah, James hasn't had that. No, it's all good. All good. Yeah, James hasn't had that at all, right? So like obviously he's had a lot of unsuccessful playoff runs with different teams. He's jumped from team to team. He landed with the Clippers. He's spoke so highly of the Clippers franchise and being home in LA, and obviously he joined where we had Russ and Paul George and Norm and Kawhi, like all the SoCal guys together. And obviously it felt like at one point maybe there was a chance for this group to win, but obviously starting the season 6-21, he's probably had to look around and thought, I'm probably going to be off this season. Yeah, so maybe I just call it early now. And obviously Cleveland, I think, was probably just a perfect opportunity where they're also a team where it's like our time is now, and they want to capitalize on that. And they had the option to get him in the end was, I think for them quite costly. I think we only gave up a couple draft picks to get James from the Sixers, and they've ended up giving us Darius Garland, who was obviously a multiple time All-Star in the league and still quite young. I think Garland sort of maybe has struggled this season. I think he's had some foot-related issues, so they felt that maybe he was expendable, and pairing him with Donovan Mitchell maybe has been a little bit problematic for the team at times, where you've obviously got two undersized guards, and typically that doesn't really work in the NBA. Often, guards below 6'3" obviously do struggle, and if you've got two of them, that makes it even more challenging. So bringing James Harden in to sort of take some of that pressure off Donovan Mitchell to be the guy all the time was a smart move for them. And I think for the Clippers, I honestly didn't think we'd get anything for James. I know he's been playing unbelievably well, but it's like who is going to give us something significant for our future? And I think fortunately enough, I think it just worked out for both teams, and I think both of us have walked away pretty happy with this. Obviously, we also got, I think, a second round pick in the deal as well. So yeah, I think brilliant deal for the front office. And I think, like I just mentioned a little while ago, there was a lot of anger towards the front office and how they'd sort of constructed this team, made such an old team that clearly didn't work. And I think credit has to go to them for sort of recognizing their wrongs and the moves that they've made and finding a way out of it. And they've really navigated it brilliantly, because to turn James into Darius Garland, which keeps you competitive. Like I said, the Clippers have no incentive to lose games. They need to keep winning, and Darius Garland does that. He's a player who can put up 30 on any team at any given night. So yeah, and there's someone who's obviously looking to develop his career as well, because whilst obviously he was drafted by Cleveland, obviously hasn't found like the success there, and clearly has got the hunger for it, and has trade value that the Clippers, if the Clippers decide they don't want Garland, can easily flip him again and turn it into more capital if they want to. So yeah, I was definitely very shocked, but quite happy in the end. It was a trade that I felt good about, but like I said, it was a little sad seeing James go, because I have enjoyed his Clippers years.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a the offense ran through him, James, didn't it?
Yeah.
Harden at the Clippers, he was such a focal point of the offense for so long, for when he was there, that to get somebody like Garland back who can kind of fit into that role. I know obviously you guys, I think you kind of changed your style of play, didn't you, as well, which was one of the reasons why you turned your record around and your season around, didn't you? You kind of stopped being the very ball dominant and dribble and Harden does this, and then you kind of the ball was moving a lot more, and I think that rejuvenated Kawhi as well, bro. I don't know if you agree, but to me it kind of seemed like that it did. It kind of and then Kawhi started being Kawhi again, and then you're like, oh, I've seen this film before. Like Kawhi looks like Kawhi again. And then he did what he did at the All-Star, and it's like, oh, here we go again, kind of thing, and you've seen it before. You've seen Kawhi. I mean, on his day, when healthy, Kawhi can be the best player on the floor against any team. And because, we've seen it, haven't we? It's been, he's done it before. He's been the best player in a finals series twice, and he's won finals MVP twice and things. And yeah, I think, it's a big risk, but I think you needed a big swing, didn't you? I think that you were at the point where we need something had got to be done. And I think Lawrence Frank, he's like, well, I mean, his job was probably on the line, like you say, we've got to do something. And to kind of get younger with Garland, he's had his injury issues. That's the worry with Garland. But, ceiling wise, he is a very good player, and he's a talented player, and he can score, he can distribute, he can do all of that. It's just a health thing, really. And I think Cleveland were kind of like you said, our time is now, and we need healthy people, because Harden plays, Harden's got all his critics, but the man plays. He plays. He doesn't sit out many games. Sometimes he has terrible playoff games, but he does play. He's always available. So, I mean, that's something, you can say for Harden for sure. With Garland, it's health. Health is the big thing. And, with Kawhi and Garland, both of them could be out. And then it gets a lot harder to do, doesn't it? Also, the other move was trading Zubac as well. I was really surprised at that one, man. That really caught me off guard. I'm like, oh man, they're really kind of resetting. We're really kind of doing this. And I think a bold move. What were your thoughts on that one, Zubac? Because he had such a good year last year and the year before. He was one of your best players, I thought.
Yeah. Last year he definitely had a career season, and I think it had been a long time coming. He's just been developing year on year. Like this is a guy who's been obviously with the Clippers since, was it 2016, 2017, where we acquired him for basically nothing. Sorry, I think it was 2019 that we got Zoo. Yeah, we essentially paid nothing to the Lakers to get him. We basically stole them
from Lakers.
from him.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Magic Johnson, that's probably one of the best moves he's made for the Clippers. Unbelievable still, and he's just continued to develop year on year. I think he's been mostly underrated a lot of his career, and I think last season was the one that really sort of put him on the map in terms of, I thought potentially being one of the defensive players of the year and making. I thought it could have easily made the first team all defense last year. So yeah, it was a big shock, and I think because the Clippers just haven't had any real assets. Yes, we've managed to get some pieces for James Harden. You don't really want to give up James Harden for nothing, right? So because you want to maintain competitiveness. So Zoo has been probably the guy that there's been a lot of rumors about him for some time, even dating back to last season. And the Pacers have been sort of sniffing around him. I definitely think they've been after him since last year, and they've tried to pair him with Haliburton and sort of seen him as someone who could be great for their future. Obviously, they've had a bit of a down season this year with Haliburton having his injury. So, yeah, there was more long-term rumors about Zoo and the Pacers, sort of even dating before even some of the James Harden stuff. So, it felt like it could happen. Whether I thought it was actually going to was probably another question. And when the news hit, I was like, yeah, absolutely gobsmacked, really. But I think, again, it's one of those that probably took a little bit more time to get my head around. But after sort of the dust has settled, just it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, the trade with the Thunder has obviously taken a lot of our draft picks away. So getting the opportunity to bring 2 first-round picks back, one of them potentially being, it could even be the 5th pick in the draft this year. If the Clippers get it, I think it's protected. So essentially, it's protected up to 9, so it can be anywhere between 5 and 9. And if not, it becomes an unprotected pick in 2030, I think. And they've also got an unprotected in 2029, so gives them a chance to bring some draft picks in, potentially even a first round pick this year. But also Benedict Mathurin, who I think in probably a similar situation to Darius Garland. Obviously, he hasn't hit the heights of Darius Garland just yet in terms of all-star votes, but I think has maybe been in a situation which he didn't really fit in too well. Sort of maybe had some up and down times with the Pacers, but in terms of their finals matchup with the Thunder was one of the better players, right? So he's been a sort of a little bit in and out of favor. Obviously, he's still incredibly young, very talented scorer, and I think gave us an option to replace what we lost with Norman Powell. Even you could argue Bradley Beal, which I think Mathurin's easily got better output than Bradley Beal. So to bring him in and also bring in Isaiah Jackson as a big, obviously nowhere near as good as Zoo, but just gives us again the ability to remain competitive, keep our heads above the water, but bring in more assets for the future, because the Clippers are silently rebuilding. They're looking at free agencies over the next 2 seasons. So the better contracts we can bring in, the more young guys, the more assets that we can get into this team, the better, because so that Kawhi and Paul George trade really depleted us. And I think the clock started when Paul George balked in free agency, right? So it's been a good move, and hindsight, Mathurin has been pretty good for the Clippers, but again, apparently has some injury issues at the moment, so has not been in the team as of recently, which is typical with the Clippers, really. But I thought Mathurin has looked pretty good for us, and like I said, I think has kind of filled that void that has been left by Norman Powell as just being that third option scorer, and he's been coming off the bench quite frequently and has had some big games for the Clippers. I think he had a 40-point game recently. So and he's still young, still learning. Like, I think the defensive side of his game leaves a lot to be desired, but he's got Jeff Van Gundy, who's I think one of the better defensive coaches in the league. So I think that side of his game will develop. If he stays in the Clippers, that is, I think that side should develop over the next few years. And yeah, I think he's been good. And overall, like, it's sad to go. It's definitely painful. Like, I've been a big Zoo fan since he's joined the team. We've seen him go from this young guy from Croatia, sort of come from the Lakers, for Mike Muscala, and has really developed into someone who I think can sort of elevate the Pacers even further than they have been. And I'm really excited to see how he plays with them next year, because they've got a hell of a team, and I think he fits in really well. So yeah, obviously I'm wishing him all the best, but it's definitely sad to see him go, and was definitely a big surprise, but something that just, again, made sense for both sides. And yeah, I'll be tuning into the lottery night to see if we're going to get a draft pick this year. It'd be great if we can get 5 or 6, but I think if it goes beyond there, I'd rather just have the unprotected one later down the line, because definitely see the Pacers not. I can't imagine the Pacers would be great in 2030, but who knows? I'm willing to take that gamble, but it's literally a coin toss at this point whether the Clippers get that pick or not. So yeah, it's a deal that I would make again.
Like, say, for being so long, James, with having the Kawhi and George trades being tied for so long, we've got no assets, we're all in, this is it, kind of thing. And in quite a short space of time, you've managed to give yourself now a bit of flexibility in your roster, and also get younger as well, which I think was a main kind of focus. Not that Zubac was over the hill or anything like that,
No.
Kind of to kind of raise that kind of your average age of your roster kind of down as well. And I think Mathurin, he looks like he's playing like he's got something to prove, doesn't he?
Exactly.
And he's one of them guys that you can chuck the ball to and go, and he can create his own offense. He's like instant offense, isn't he? Like you say, like that kind of Norman Powell guy. He can run the second unit, and you go, right, we can run plays through you, and you could be the focal point of the offense for however many minutes, on the second unit. Mathurin definitely is somebody, like you say, probably just wrong team with the Pacers, really. Probably just didn't fit it on there. And obviously Pacers, the season that they had last year, going all the way to the finals and things. There's a young guy, isn't there, that I think started to show some signs that I think maybe they were kind of happy to let Zubac go. Was that Niederhauser?
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to get on to Niederhauser. He was our first round pick last season. One of those like left field picks where, I mean, I went in the build up to draft, when the Clippers have got a pick, I try and like do a bit of research. Okay, who could we be getting around this 30th pick? And he just wasn't on the radar for any of like the analysts who were talking about who the Clippers could draft. So when he was drafted, everybody was like, this guy, like, and then you sort of read up about him and all the reports saying like, he's very raw and he's going to take time, and it's, it just feels like another one, because the Clippers have had this many times where they've drafted, even in this deal for Zoo, and to be fair to Kobe Brown, who was part of that deal, he's been playing pretty well in Indiana because it's sort of given him an opportunity to play. I think the issue with the Clippers the last few years is that we've been continuing to draft, but we've just had this like veteran heavy team where there's just no minutes. There's only a certain amount of minutes you can give guys. So the younger sort of draft guys who've been in and around the G League just haven't had an opportunity. As I mentioned, Jordan Miller was one of those. Fortunately enough, this year, with injuries, with I think Brook Lopez being up and down through the year, they've turned to Yannick, and that's because I think he's developed a bit quicker than the team thought. And then even more so when they traded Zoo, I think they felt like, we've got Brook Lopez. Yes, he's old, but he was a starting center last year for the Bucks, and I think has sort of grown as the season's gone on into. I think there's still some limitations to Brook Lopez, but it has sort of given that opportunity to Yannick Niederhauser to really show what he's about. And yeah, he's been really fun. And I think the unfortunate thing is, in typical Clipper fashion, he's out for the season, despite how great he's been.
Big blow, man.
Yeah, massive blow. I was talking about him recently on a podcast. I think it was fresh off a win against the Warriors, and I felt like that was where. I think it was maybe one of the national media games where I think even some of the commentators were starting to notice his play and like how effective he is both sides of the floor, particularly the defensive side. Like he's just got so much energy. His athleticism is great, and he's got a lot of size that I think he ended the game with like 3 blocks and one like really important one that ultimately, it sort of ended up with us winning the game. So sort of fresh off that, a couple games later goes down for the season. It's like, you just
why can't we have
win,
nice things? Yeah,
exactly. That is how I feel. That one really hurt, but the Clippers have definitely got something in him. He's proven he can play in the NBA, and maybe that made them feel like they could afford to give Zoo up. I think maybe the center market next year might look decent. I'm still really keen on trying to reunite with Hartenstein if that ever becomes a possibility. I think he's got a player option. If he fancies change of scenery, coming home to LA, then that's my pick for the Clippers starting spot next year. But yeah, it was probably just time to call it with Zoo. But yeah, we've got something good with Yannick Konan-Niedhauser, and probably someone else who's gone a little bit under the radar is Kobe Sanders, who we also drafted as a second round pick. And it's even rarer for the Clippers to get output out of a second round pick, and he'd been playing more minutes than Yannick, who was a first round pick. So yeah, he's really fitting well. He sort of reminds me of a bit like a Brandon Podziemski, someone who can sort of just do it all, and a bit of a Swiss Army knife in terms of just being able to play all kinds of positions, and again is just available when needed. And he's been good, and he was probably one of the first younger guys who started to play, and had a sort of good sort of start to his Clipper career with a few big performances, and just hasn't looked back since. And it was definitely one of those like key players in turning the Clippers season around. I think just providing that option off the bench, because at one point our team was pretty depleted, and we needed them to be ready, and fortunately he was, and I think he's developed really well. I think it's kind of a shame he didn't get into the Rising Stars game. Obviously Niederhauser did, but Kobe Sanders played probably twice as many minutes as he has this year, and been consistent in his output. So yeah, he's one I've been pleased with and excited to see how he evolves, because as I mentioned, the Clippers just haven't had young players to rely on for the last few seasons. There was probably nobody in the 2-1-3 era with Kawhi and Paul George, when sometimes you just need like options. And I think in the NBA nowadays, if you look to the Thunder, and the team is basically all draft picks of all players that they've drafted pretty much, other than Caruso and Hartenstein. So you do need it, and especially with like the new CBA, new contracts, like getting value out of young players is the way to go. So I'm pleased that they're going down that direction, because we've been calling for it for some time, and finally they are. I think their hand has been forced a little bit with obviously the veterans that they had on the team at the start of the year, Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, etc. So
yeah, sometimes you have to pivot, mate, don't you? Things aren't working, then something's got to change, and maybe you didn't want to get rid of Zubac, but if you want to get something back in terms of assets, you've got to trade somebody, bro, haven't you? And you're not going to trade Kawhi, are you? So who else was who would garnish some Harden's already gone. It's kind of Zubac really, and that's it, isn't it? So to get some assets back and some players back and things, unfortunately he's the guy that because of how good he was last season, and you probably got a bit more than what you would have done 2-3 years ago, wouldn't you, for how good he was last year? So that's just how it goes. Sometimes you don't want to see these guys go, but sometimes it has to for forward progress, isn't it? And like you say, kind of is there a new dawn at the Clippers now? Can you see kind of like this is where the direction of the franchise is going, possibly?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's night and day between now and when we were 6-21, right? Like, ask me when we were 6-21, I felt like I didn't know when the Clippers were going to be good again, and that's like a scary thought, because we've been a winning team every year. We haven't had one season below 500, and obviously the prospect of this being one was like, just couldn't imagine it. And obviously fun if you have a draft pick to look forward to, but we don't, right? So Yeah, the sort of turnaround has been unbelievable, and the front office deserve credit for turning it around and sort of recognizing their wrongs, and they've given us an opportunity to
Mm.
improve. And like I said, they've always been looking to the next few off seasons. I think just being a big market team, having Steve Ballmer who's willing to put his hand in his pocket, he's proven he has before. We
Mm.
are going to be a destination for free agents. I don't think there's probably anyone this coming off season that I'm too interested in. I'm happy just to run it with this group again and just see what happens. I think there's probably a
Yeah.
better group coming in that following season.
Mm.
So yeah, I think just keep this team
Yeah.
competitive, keep sort of developing the younger guys. I'm happy to keep Kawhi around, as you mentioned. Like, he's had an absolute insane year, and I just didn't think he still had it in him, but he just continues to prove everyone wrong that this guy just won't slow down. Like, it's sort of been almost like
Mm.
2019-esque the way he's been playing. And I think if the Clippers had been playing better, maybe he would have been in for like an MVP consideration. I obviously don't think that's deserved, because SGA clearly is the best player in the league and deserves it
Mhm.
again. But obviously, if he wasn't around, like, Kawhi's been playing the best basketball. I don't know who's been playing better than him.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm definitely more excited about the future and where this team can go, especially given we've got a potential draft pick to look forward to
Yeah.
this off season if things go our way. So yeah, there's an exciting feeling back with the team, and the fact that we've made these trades. If I was to tell you a few months ago that the Clippers would be trading James Harden and Zoo, you'd probably be like, well, that's your season done, right? But we continue
Mm.
to win games, albeit this week has been pretty bad. It's probably been the one bad week that I can remember since that early run,
Yeah.
where we're 6-21. But before then, I think we put 150 points up against the Timberwolves, and that was, I
Mm.
think we'd won like 11 out of 16 or something. We were just on a real tear at that point. And
Mm.
then, unfortunately, I think the schedule has caught up to us a little bit, where Kawhi has got this ankle injury, and obviously Garland's in out the lineup, Mathurin's
Mm.
out. So we have lost a few. We lost some bad ones recently. We lost to the Pelicans twice. They just seem to be our bogey team forever. Just can't get a win in New Orleans for some reason. Even we won the other night against the Mavericks, which still went to overtime, like with
Yeah.
Kawhi.
Yeah.
So we're in a little bit of a patch at the moment, but I do feel like when everybody is available with this team, which I think will probably happen more often than not now, given we've got some younger guys, yeah, we can sort of give anyone a run for their money, particularly with Ty Lue, Jeff Van Gundy. So yeah, excited to see what sort of holds for the rest of this season, but also the next few. And fortunately, there's some good things to look forward to. If we'd had this chat in October, November, it would have been very, very different. Very different.
Been a therapy session for you, mate, I think.
Yeah, but we on
Yeah.
the podcast that we have, it felt like every week was a therapy session just for mine
Yeah.
and my co-host, just to be like, how are we gonna where do we go from here? And neither of us really had the answers, but fortunately
Yeah.
enough, there's some smarter people in the front office who've managed to turn it around. So yeah.
There you go, mate. Yeah, that's it, man. So kind of looking at, as the Clippers are, they sit eighth, 35 and 36, so hovering on that 500, bro. Where do you see kind of, the Clippers, where can they go? Can they be a dark horse in the playoffs? Obviously, at the moment, you'd be in the play-in. So, could things, could you make a run possibly as it is at the moment?
I think round one, I feel like we're very likely to get to round one, even being in the play-in. And we don't know where we're going to finish in the play-in, right? Like, we're definitely going to be between 7 and 10 where we are. I don't know. Obviously, I don't think we're going to be catching your Phoenix Suns, obviously being 5 games behind with 12 games left. Like, I just don't think that's achievable.
Mm.
Yeah, I can't see 7, but 8, 9 probably likely. I think we've got one of the easier schedules out of the group that we're in. But even, Suns, Blazers, Warriors, like, they're all good teams. They've all got easy games to play as well. And I think it's going to depend on, again, availability. This team will go as far as Kawhi goes, and that's always been the way. even
Mm.
looking back to previous seasons where maybe Paul George was available and James were available, but Kawhi was out, like your chances of winning games just go down drastically when one of the best players in the league isn't around. And unfortunately, he's suffering with a different injury to his knee. Obviously, the knee has been the big thing that's meant he has sort of been coming and going, right? But he had a bit of an incident with, I think, DeMar DeRozan a few weeks ago, and has just had this ankle sprain. And you know, we need to keep winning basketball games, so he can't really afford to rest too much. So I don't know what kind of Kawhi we're going to have in the play-in, but if assuming we have everyone back, everyone ready to go, yeah, I think round one's very likely. I can definitely see it being us, the Clippers and the Suns getting those two spots, and likely we'll be playing the Thunder in the first round. I feel pretty good about it, particularly because, as I mentioned, the Clippers have maintained this competitiveness, and we've had just coming off a week where we were like just destroying teams. Obviously, like I said, it's been pretty bad recently, but I could definitely see us turn this around, and that'll be just a very small blip. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to that first round of the play-in, because obviously the Suns will definitely have home court advantage. I could definitely see the Suns winning that as well. Yeah, we're not going to get a home court advantage in that game, but you know, between the Warriors and the Blazers, obviously we've beaten the Warriors a few times this year. I think we've actually got a few games actually left against the Blazers and the Warriors, so obviously we can beat them as well. That will just improve our odds. But yeah, I feel pretty confident that we'll get to the first round, but you're asking for a lot for us to beat the Thunder, unless, you know, they go through some insane injury crisis or something. I don't think that the team is that good to beat the who probably end up being the winners come the end of the season. So yeah, I probably would have felt more confident against the Spurs, to be honest. We've had some good games against the Spurs. We just haven't had like the guys available. I think the last game we were missing Kawhi, only lost by a few points. I think game before that against the Spurs, we didn't have Garland. We were up by like 20. We like basically blew a 20-point lead against the Spurs. So and yeah, it would have been fun to see us go against Wemby in his sort of first playoff experience. But yeah, Thunder is going to be too much for this team. I can't see them going beyond that. But round one, I feel confident about.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. Like I said earlier, man, you know, if you've got a healthy Kawhi, mate, in the play-in and a one-off game, he's probably going to be the best guy on the floor, isn't he? More than likely than not against any of those teams, mate. I mean, the Warriors, I don't think the Warriors even want to be in the play-in, but I think they're going to be in there by default, aren't they? So, you know, that's how it's looking for them. I don't know if Curry's even going to come back, is he? I don't think. No. They're on about shutting him down completely. So I don't think they even want to be in the play-in, but Pelicans are that far behind that they're going to be in there by default. So
exactly,
yeah, that's going to be fun. So Portland, you know, I think they've exceeded expectations considering they haven't had a coach all season. You know, that's a bit mad with the Chauncey Billups, isn't it? So kudos to them, kind of thing. But you know, against either one of those teams, mate, I wouldn't write you off, mate, against us, man. I'm telling you, mate. No. I've seen Kawhi, mate, and he's frightening. Yeah. When you're rooting against Kawhi, mate, it's not a good place to be, because it's like he hits one and then he hits another, and you're like, oh, he's looking like that Kawhi again, you know. And it can easily happen in a one-off game, and that's the beauty about the one-off game format, bro, isn't it? You know, it's you know, whoever wins on the day, you know, anything can happen, mate. So I'm not thinking if we have you in the 7-8 matchup, mate, that it's a gimme. That's a damn sure, mate.
No, I don't either, to be honest. Yeah. And there's been history between our teams in postseason, right? Like,
we've had a few tussles now and again.
Yeah. And you know, don't forget that you got Kevin Durant, who's, you know, on his day can be best player in the league as well. So so yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know why I said that. I know he's on the Rockets now.
Yeah,
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 I
all
think
right, don't worry.
Devin Booker is who I meant to say. Devin Booker. He's
Yes,
had some brilliant games against the Clippers. Some explosive ones. So
very true. Very
yeah,
true.
and unfortunately, his arch nemesis in Paul George isn't around. So yeah,
Yeah. No, we've had some tussles over the years, bro, haven't we, man? For sure.
yeah,
There were conference finals when we made it to the finals. I think you just kind of run out of players. Kawhi was out, wasn't he? Unfortunately, I mean, Paul George was still playing then. He was very good
yeah,
for you in that series. Again, a bit of luck, and it could have been you guys going. Really, we shouldn't have made the finals that year. It was an insane run, to be honest. But
yeah,
sometimes you need that bit of luck, bro, don't you? The injuries sometimes
yeah.
just happen at the worst time, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're here, kind of thing. And I don't think you've had that luck, really, bro, have you? You haven't had that bit of
No,
luck yet.
no. We've really sort of been down in the bad luck with injuries where it's Kawhi, which we know has had this sort of knee problem, and sometimes it's just due to the way his knee is, and there's nothing you can do about it. And other times, I'm thinking back to the series against the Utah Jazz, which I think was potentially the series before the Suns, where we end up miraculously beating the Jazz without Kawhi. But Kawhi obviously got injured due to like a collision with Joe Ingles, and it's like there's nothing you can do about that. Like that's just bad luck, right? So just the stars just haven't aligned. Even if you think about the first season of Kawhi and Paul George with the bubble, right? Like who knows what would happen without the bubble. I thought we were great that season. We obviously threw a massive lead against the Nuggets, and who knows, in different circumstances, I think we were definitely better than the Lakers that year. So I think arguably we could have gone all the way, and we were definitely robbed of an LA sort of playoff game in that season. So yeah, it's been nothing but bad luck for the Clippers as of recently. Even guys like Paul George, I think last time we were actually in the sort of playing spots, he got COVID sort of the night before our game against the Pelicans and didn't get to play. And you just can't write it sometimes. It's just Clippers. It's just how we tend to go. I would be surprised.
Do you just expect this as a
season.
Yeah? Do you just expect this as a Clipper fan now? Is it just like, this is what happens?
Nothing surprises me, even with like some of the aspiration stuff. Like there's just always some kind of story or some kind of thing going on with the Clippers, but keeps it entertaining. Just keeps you on your toes.
Absolutely. That Pablo Toure thing into all of that, man, was some viewing, man. I don't know if you watched all the his podcast and thing, man. The amount of hours of research and things he must have gone into to do that. That's some old school journalism right there, man. That's some real. I mean, awful for you for being a fan involved in it, man. But as a neutral, I just couldn't believe like the amount of research he must have gone into and to find all that stuff out. And he just kept finding more things as the days go on. And just like, where does this end? It just seemed like it was endless almost. And we don't even know what the punishment is for that yet, do we, James?
No, the investigation's still ongoing, which I don't know if that's good news or bad news, to be honest.
No.
Yeah, I don't really know how to feel about it, and I feel like fans shouldn't really have Clipper fans shouldn't really have to have an opinion or be forced to have an opinion on it, because it's it's stuff that we can't control. For if the Clippers are guilty, if they're not guilty, you just have to sort of accept the consequence of whatever that is. And obviously that, like I said, the investigation's still going on. Definitely seems like there's some stuff going on there, but who knows, right? It's been going on for so long. This was started at the very start of the season. We're now coming up to the last 12 games and still nothing has come out. And knowing our luck, he'll come out last game of the season and Kawhi will be pulled from the team. And we're speaking into reality now, but that's all the Clipper fans' biggest fear, is that we've done unbelievably well to turn the season around, and then right at the last hurdle we'll have it sort of the rug pulled out underneath us. So we'll see what comes out of that.
Keep the faith, James. Keep the faith, man.
We will. We will.
Yeah,
It's the hope that
absolutely.
kills you, though.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely, yeah. No, yeah, definitely. That's true in all sports, I think, mate, isn't it? Whichever sport you're
Absolutely.
following. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't get me
we've
started
all
on
had
anything
heartbreak.
else. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's been a pretty crazy season for me in terms of sports. Absolutely mental.
Yeah, are you an NFL fan as well, James?
No, but
No?
I'm a Spurs fan, so that's in terms of football. So you can
Oh,
imagine being
oh,
a
wow.
Clippers and
Okay.
Spurs is quite the marriage. It's probably, I think I kind of like the depression of it all,
Do you
really.
just like heartache, bro? It's
Yeah.
just like,
Well,
I don't know.
one, I guess because I'd been brought like Spurs, I didn't have a choice with that, right? Like that, I didn't get to choose
Mm.
that misery that I'm going through at the moment, and maybe
Oh,
it's sort
mate.
of inspired me to follow the Clippers in some kind of weird way, which I wasn't aware of the Clippers history before I started following them. I just knew they were Lob City and they were fun to watch, but
Yeah.
there's probably is something there. Can't put my finger on it, but it's not by chance that I support two teams who are as crazy as them. So yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. You could do a whole other podcast on Spurs, I'm sure, mate. But we won't. So we won't talk about that today,
We'll
mate.
be here
We'll
for
leave.
another hour. That's for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah, they've got thoughts on that one as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I say, maybe just love heartache, mate. I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah,
So.
buried in misery.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, speaking of Lob City, bro, obviously, something else that happened during the season, just another thing that
Another one.
that we chuck into it, mate. The kind of whole Chris Paul thing, kind of coming back to the Clippers organization, and then he was announcing that this is going to be my last season, this is the last go around, and then like a month later, he was no longer with the team, and he was told to go home. What what were your thoughts on when this occurred, James? How were your feelings on Paul? And then ultimately he got traded away, and then he retired, and then that's Chris Paul's career.
Yeah.
It's all kind of ended quite abruptly, didn't it?
Yeah, I think other than the terrible start, this is probably like the one real bad thing that's like come out of this season. And really rough, because I think Chris Paul, to many Clipper fans, was like, one of the reasons we were fans, and he was one of the reasons I became a fan of the team. I hated how it ended. Obviously, it was inevitable that he was going to get traded, and ultimately was part of that deal to the Rockets, and probably left on better terms than Blake Griffin. But still, there was, that was that feeling there. Obviously, he had his time with the Suns as well. What he sort of enjoyed beating the Clippers for a little while. And it was definitely a rough one for fans of that Lob City era, because for him to come back to the team where it all began, just it was, I was pretty excited about it. I was a bit apprehensive about him joining, to be honest, especially because I think we had Bradley Beal before we signed Chris Paul, and just felt like if those are going to be two of the guys in our backcourt, defensively, that's a bit rough. Although I think Chris Paul was coming off a season with the Spurs that I think was quite impressive in the end. He was available, and maybe that's what they saw in him, and obviously his leadership as well. And it just ended on the worst terms, and I just feel like it was the right decision, but the way that they handled it was disrespectful to him and to a player who's going to be a Hall of Famer in the league. I think they should have known what they were signing up for. Like, it's not as if Chris Paul hasn't been on the Clippers. There's clearly familiar faces in the organization who should be like know about Chris Paul and know what he's like. But everyone know. Go back and watch Chris Paul highlights. You'll know as well. Like, this is a guy who is vocal, and he's vocal during games, to players, to refs, to coaches, to the media. And I think that's sort of where it went wrong for the Clippers, because obviously, imagine you're just losing every other game, basically every game, losing 21 games out of 27, and you've got Chris Paul trying to tell your director of basketball operations what to do, and you know, I'm not saying that's exactly what he did, but sort of the reporting that came out was suggesting that he was maybe too vocal, too critical of where the team were going. But you know, maybe someone didn't need that honesty because it clearly wasn't working. But I do feel like Chris Paul was part of the issue. Again, I don't think that's probably summarized by the fact that he has retired. Like, it's not as if he's gone and landed with another team and then is proving us wrong. Like, I do feel like it was time for him. It was a fairly low cost deal for the Clippers. I feel like they just could have handled it a completely different way. I don't think they needed to tell him in the middle of the night on a Miami road trip, like, yeah, you don't even do that to like your like young, like two-way 10-day players, right? You don't tell them in the middle of the night they're leaving. So
yeah,
that was just a very rough period because that was like in the midst of us being terrible, and it just felt like just another like gut punch for us that was just unnecessary. Like, we just didn't need that kind of attention, particularly when a team is playing as bad as it was. You had all this aspiration stuff, and then for this to come out, it just felt like the world was like coming on top of the Clippers, and it was, I think, the fault of the front office, and it could have been handled better. I don't know, maybe just Chris Paul being who he is, they were just afraid to confront him in a normal way. I don't think there's an excuse for it, really. His jersey should be hanging up in Intuit Dome, but I just don't think we're going to get that, at least for the next 10 years. It felt like we'd sort of repaired what we'd lost with him, for him to come back and then be with the team for a couple months before they called him up in the middle of the night and said, "You're gone." Like, it's just, I still can't get my head around it. The team haven't really spoken about it other than saying that they admire him and saying all this stuff about how much they respect him, but you don't do what they did to someone you really respect like that. It was just completely uncalled for, and obviously he then spent like a fair while with the team before eventually getting off the roster. And I imagine that was hard for him to go through, because he doesn't want to retire, really. Like, I'm sure he wanted that that farewell tour, and that's, I felt like when we signed him, we were giving him that, and that felt great for that to sort of come full circle. But February, obviously, like you mentioned, he's like officially retired, and it's just an ugly way to end it for him. And I don't think I've gotten over that, really, because he was, as I mentioned, like one of the guys that really like not only got me into the Clippers, but got me into like the NBA completely. Is like one of the first players that I started watching, and that Lob City era was so fun, and it just feels like the team tainted that a little bit. Whereas the Rockets trade, although wasn't great, it was necessary at the time, but for them to do this just feels like unforgivable. So it's probably the one like real bad thing that's come out of this season. I say that until the aspiration stuff will develop any further, but not happy about that. And imagine, like, obviously he spent some time with the Suns, right? So imagine you were pretty shocked with his treatment as well.
I've never known anybody's retirement tour to be ended that abruptly and early. When you say, "Oh, this is the last go around, this is the last," did he want a retirement tour, kind of Kobe-esque almost? But it all ended very quickly. I'm not sure whether you get the kind of appreciation that Kobe did when he did his kind of last go around and things. But I think he was just kind of like, I'm going to finish this season, with the Clippers, who, did so much for me, back in the day. And then, like you say, to just end so abruptly, to probably arguably your greatest ever player. And like you say, him and Blake Griffin really took the Clippers from, I mean, really, they were kind of a joke franchise, really, before that, and they were just kind of languishing. The Clippers, they're in the league, kind of thing, and kind of put them on the NBA stage, the national stage, really. And
Yeah.
For how it's ended for both of them as well. Blake, when he was traded as well, they give him a max extension and then traded him soon after to Detroit. I think you can tell Blake has a sour taste in his mouth as well, how that kind of ended as well, doesn't
Definitely.
he?
And that's
You
the
know,
sad part because we don't really have
yeah,
like, because like you mentioned, we were a joke before that. Like we don't, other than maybe like Bob McAdoo, which I've
so
never watched
a
Bob
while ago.
McAdoo play. Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
no one real like, who else is there for Clipper
yeah,
fans to get behind and say like, oh yeah, that's like one of our icons, one of our legends. And unfortunately, the two who are no longer in the NBA, they're not getting their jerseys hung up. There just feels like there's that disconnection,
yeah.
and Paul George ain't going to beat that one because he left ugly. So yeah, it's a pretty
Yeah.
tough feeling, pretty much for anyone who was a fan during that
Mm.
time, to see him come back and being treated as he did. Like I mentioned, that's a future Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
and for his career to end like that,
Yeah.
like I said,
Yeah.
I agreed
Uh,
with getting him off the team. He was, in all honesty, he was pretty bad this season. I think worse
mm,
than I expected. I think maybe suited a team in the rebuild mold, like similar to what he had last year with the Spurs. I think maybe this was the wrong step for him to go with, like a
mm,
team trying to like contend, or at least trying to get into the playoffs. Like, I feel like he come off a really good season with the Spurs, and it seemed like the Spurs really like valued his time with them and like his leadership with the younger group. Like they're trying to build towards something, maybe
mm,
a stint with like the Pacers, or someone who was sort of in that position where they could afford to give him minutes, but like not judge him too hard when he doesn't perform. Whereas the Clippers,
yeah.
they found that they needed wins, and having someone be critical of like the staff, coaching, the direction of the team, etc.
Mm.
Maybe some of it. I think I said at the time, like he's probably telling some hard truths, but sometimes
Well,
in business,
was he
like that's
lying,
not.
James? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know,
It's
but obviously, clearly after that point, somehow, and
mm,
Chris Paul wasn't playing much for the Clippers. I can't say like it was Chris
no.
Paul like leaving that got us on this crazy run to bring our season back. But it's a data point in the season,
Yeah.
right? Like you can
Yeah.
literally point it on a timeline and say the Clippers are 6-21, they get rid of Chris Paul, and then they end up 500. But I think
Yeah.
that's unfair to Chris Paul because it
Yeah.
wasn't as if he was playing heavy minutes. I just
Mm.
think it could even well be Chris Paul told them some things that they needed to know, and maybe they took the advice, and they ended up changing things and changing the style of the team and trying to get
Mm.
younger. And unfortunately, obviously, I don't know what Chris Paul was saying, but he was obviously part of that equation, as he was
Mm.
one of the older players on the team and blocking guys like I mentioned earlier in the pod, Kobe Sanders. As a result of Chris Paul leaving, Kobe Sanders got an opportunity, and obviously he's shone since. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's one of those like hard sort of. It's not even bittersweet. It could have been bittersweet, sort of letting him go in a more respectful way, but I think in the end it was just bitter and
Yeah.
and horrible for such a legendary player to be treated like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, real shock at the time when
Mm.
I saw it. Yeah, crazy
Yeah.
situation.
It's one of them. It's a term I always remember. It's like you ain't good enough to be an asshole kind of thing, and
Yeah,
it kind of boils when you're the best player on the team and you're calling people out is different than
yeah. No, you're right.
when you're the you're the guy who's coming. He's
He's
at
not
the end
playing. Yeah,
and he's not playing. And you're still talking like that. People like, man, like you need to back off, like kind of thing. And
yeah,
I think him and Ty Lue had a real kind of disagreement, let's say, or I don't know
I'm
what to
sure they
call it
did.
really. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's
I
all,
can't
and
again. I
I
can't
think
remember the
they didn't
reporting,
kind of
but
speak for it for a few weeks.
no.
Apparently, they weren't even communicating. Which a guy on your team you're not even communicating with, there's a real problem there, bro, isn't there?
Yeah, and they're two big characters, right? And like
Mm,
Chris Paul, he could definitely be a head coach one day. Like he's got
mm,
that's just seems like that's in his character, that's in his DNA. Like he's like obsessed about basketball, same way
yeah.
T. Lue is. So I can definitely
Hmm.
see them having butt heads. We'll never know exactly what happened, but I'm sure there'll be some interesting stories to tell. I think there was
Yeah.
one incident that I can remember on the court where it's sort of calling out Kawhi, and maybe that, you know, Kawhi has such a big influence on the team that maybe that was the one that
Is that the
got
final
him
straw?
gone. Yeah, you probably
Right,
had Kawhi and Uncle
get
Dennis sort of making the call. They're up at you know, early morning in Miami, like, he's
Yeah.
gone now, and
Get
you know, they've got big
him out of
influence.
here.
Yeah. It was something about like defensive matchups. Like he had a disagreement with Jeff Van Gundy as well. So like, just
Yeah.
feel like everybody was getting it from Chris Paul, and yeah, you know, in some cases it's fair enough. Like the guy is incredibly smart, has incredibly high basketball IQ. So like, I do, you know, respect his opinion, and the Clippers were playing bad, so they, you know, they needed some voices, but maybe like, I think maybe the way he went about it was probably the wrong way, and being so critical. We probably needed like to lean on his experience in a different kind of way and help us get out of this situation, to breed some positivity into the team. But obviously when there's a lot of like criticism being thrown around, and a lot of egos, big characters, it just didn't mesh well. And yeah, sad to see him go. Obviously sad to see him retire. He will always be a Clipper legend. I hope like the opportunity does come around for him to get his jersey hung up, because I think he deserves it. But I think there's always going to be that sour taste with how it ended. And yeah,
it could be a KG thing, bro, where it's like 20 years later. KG's only just getting his jersey retired, isn't he? So it's like, yeah, is it just going to take time to heal those wounds, James? I think
definitely. I think, yeah, time always heals. But yeah, it's not coming anytime soon, particularly with this front office as it is. Obviously, who made that decision? I don't think it's same for Blake Griffin. Like Blake Griffin and Steve Ballmer don't see eye to eye. There isn't it. I don't think they've. I think Blake has been back since, so maybe things are getting better. But there is an infamous clip of when Blake returned when he was playing with the Pistons, and sort of Steve was like trying to see if he could get a handshake with him, trying to say hello, and he just run off. So, you know, there are certain grudges that are held, and I do understand. And obviously in Blake's case, obviously he didn't want to get traded to the Pistons. Like, who wanted that? Maybe this season, obviously how well they're playing, but back then they were not a great team. So
no.
We did him pretty bad, considering, like, again, similar to Chris Paul, he helped revive our franchise and give us some great memories. For them to do that to him, yeah, it just shows you what the business of the NBA is like. It is just so ruthless. It's so hot and cold. Like, we've had players like James Harden come out and say how much he admires the front office. We've had Darius Garland in his early time here say like how much he appreciated the team looking out for his injury issues, which I think he felt maybe Cleveland had rushed him back. And I think when we brought him in, he didn't play for the start because we were like, okay, we want to make sure this foot is fine. Like, we know you're playing on it, we know you're struggling. So he came out and say how much he appreciated that. But then you got the flip side with guys like Chris Paul. You could even argue like Norman Powell to an extent. You could argue Paul George and what happened there. And, yeah, I'm not saying one or the other was right or wrong, but obviously there were decisions made not to pay guys who clearly contributed to the team. And you got to take the good with the bad, particularly when it comes to the Clippers. Unfortunately,
it's not easy being a GM, bro. You have to make them hard decisions, bro, don't you? Who to pay, who not to pay, who to cut.
Like I said, it paid off in the end, because Clippers are back in playoff contention and playing a lot better basketball now. So it's definitely bittersweet when it comes to Chris Paul.
Before if you won the chip this year and Chris Paul got a winner's medal.
Wow, I'm interested to know. Can he qualify for that? Is that a certain number of games played?
I'm not sure. Or did you get one if you play any time or in the playoffs? I'm not quite sure, to be honest. But it'd just be it'd just be a fun wrinkle. Like, come back, come get your chip, and
they could do right by him and maybe signing him to a 2-way in the finals. I don't know if that's possible, but just get him involved, get him on the coaching staff maybe or something. Yeah. But we talk about a championship. That's not going to happen.
No, just a fun kind of wrinkle there.
Yeah.
But hey, mate, you never know, man. Got to be in it to win it, dude. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Only time will tell. But I think that's all we kind of covered there, bro. Unless there's anything else you want to bring up, James.
No, yeah, like I said, I think we've covered everything there. Obviously, like you mentioned at the start, it's definitely been a roller coaster, and hopefully you can see like how much of an emotional roller coaster it's been. I'm sure there's more things to come, but no, yeah, enjoyed talking Clippers with you again. Like I said, it's been 2 years, been a little too long. I'll be sure to jump on sooner than 2 years down the road, and can talk to you about how the Clippers are getting on. But yeah, really enjoyed this, Matt, and just be sure to do it again in the future.
No worries, man. Thanks a lot for taking the time, James. It's a pleasure, mate. You're welcome back anytime, mate. Just give us a holler, man, and we can have a chat, man, anytime. But thanks a lot for taking the time, mate. Much appreciated. So, do you want to tell people where they can follow you on the socials, and also your Clippers podcast as well, bro? Tell them where they can find that, dude.
Yeah, so on X it's Clippers UK. I think Instagram's like LA Clippers UK, Clippers UK on TikTok as well. But yeah, as you're right in saying, been running a Clippers podcast for 2 years now. If you've been listening to this and you're intrigued by the roller coaster of emotions that I've been through, I've got a co-host, Josh, who's also super plugged into the Clippers as well. So come tune in. It's the View from the Clipper podcast. It'll be on all podcast platforms. We typically get one out weekly, and come find out how we get on for the rest of the season, because I'm sure there's going to be some exciting games, including potentially one with Matt's Phoenix Suns coming up in the near future.
Oh, this could be fun. This could be fun, man. But no, absolutely, guys. Go follow James and go follow the podcast as well, man, because him and Josh are putting out some good content on everything Clippers, man. So thanks a lot, James, again for coming on. So we'll see you again soon. I'm Matt at Post-Up323. So you'll be able to check out this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or where you get your podcasts, or click on the QR code, guys, on the video, and that'll take you to all the links for all the socials and where you can view and download the podcast. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. We'll be back again very soon with another guest on. We'll be talking about NBA. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty now, guys. So this is where the fun begins. So thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll see you again very soon.